even if that means it costs you your family, your friends, your loved ones, your girlfriend, whatever the case might be. So long as you have a belief and a passion that you can actively and successfully obtain that goal, then go for it.
I need to say this. Let me just say it straight out the way. I am no longer married, and I'm divorced. This is not what this video is about, but there's something that you guys need to know. When I met this woman, and I told her about my Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, she hated it. She didn't like it. She said that, hey, you can do something better with your life. You should go back to school. So you know what I did back in 2016, 17, 16? I said, you know what? Maybe she's right. And you know what I did? I sold all my equipment. I sold my YouTube channel. I sold all my camera stuff. I'm like, you know what? Maybe it is time to move on. Maybe it's time for me to do something better with my life. Not knowing that at that time, what I had was very special. At that time, something that I chose to do, YouTube, I had something going on. Even though I had some drama and stuff going on before and I shut down my channel a few times, I had something that I completely gave up. I gave it up because someone said, hey, you know what? Maybe it is time to move on. You gotta do something better with your life. There gotta be something more for your life.
So many gems in this 1 minute and 30 seconds alone. I'm probably not gonna play the entirety of the video, considering this isn't about his divorce, but you know, I make a lot of videos on Monday talking about motivation, but this video in particular is gonna be just a little bit different simply because I think it's also important to understand how important it is to pick the right person. And although this is him getting divorced over Yu-Gi-Oh, I definitely want to clear up a couple of things because, at least in my opinion, there's a couple of red flags. The first red flag, first and foremost, being that when he first introduced the cards to her, she didn't like it. Now, fellas, I don't know about you, but me personally, there's no way I can connect with someone if they're not into at least some of the things that I'm into as well. Or at the very least, support the things that I'm into. Like, what's the point of being in a relationship with someone if they don't like the things that you do and they want to change you? That's not the point of a relationship. You two should be coming together and becoming the best versions of yourselves apart from each other without having to change for someone else or whatever the case may be. The second thing is, he decided to follow through with what she wanted. And personally, I know we all talk about like test and, you know, women testing guys and various things of that nature, but personally speaking, again, I wouldn't have gone and done that. Like, if it was me, I wouldn't make that decision to then go ahead and appease her by then selling some of my cards, or all of my cards in this case.
And I sold all my stuff for a woman. And she's no longer here. And this problem persists. She told me at that time, hey, you want to meet my mother? You need a car. Because I didn't have a car at the time. I was doing YouTube. I was working from home. I didn't need to drive anywhere. Yes, YouTube is what I did for a living. It's how I paid my bills. And I was street performing also. How did I street perform? I just catch the bus 20 minutes down the street, played my horn, went home. I never needed a car. But when I met this woman, you have to go back to school. You have to exercise. You have to get your degree. You have to do something better with your life. Even though I explained to her, this is what I chose to do. A woman comes in your life and try to tell you the plan that you chose for your life is wrong. And out of love, I choose to say, you know what? Maybe she's right. And I took a chance. I took a chance.
This is where every relationship goes wrong. Fellas, regardless of what you do, even if it costs you your relationship, do not change. And now, I should put a side note here. Like, obviously, if you are, you know, if you are the kind of guy who probably should change his temperament or personality, then yeah, maybe you should consider it. But if you're doing a hobby or you're following a passion that you have a feeling or belief that you know you could be successful at, and you're doing it, like you're actively pursuing it, and she wants you to change, that means you need to let her go. You know, there's a quote by, I forgot his name. essentially what it says is whatever you choose to do, go all the way. Don't leave any stone unturned, even if that means it costs you your family, your friends, your loved ones, your girlfriend, whatever the case might be. So long as you have a belief and a passion that you can actively and successfully obtain that goal, then go for it. I think what triggers me the most is that at some point in my life, I found myself doing something similar to that in my old relationship. And not to harken on old times, but being in that position where you're essentially giving up who you are as an individual and what you want out of life to appease someone, it's soul crushing. It's like selling your soul without getting any benefit. Like, what is the point of giving away essentially who you are and what you want to be just to be with someone who, unfortunately, more than likely, and happens more often than we like to admit, isn't here in the end anyway?
I said, you know what? I'm gonna give this up completely. Like, for good. Sold the channel's jobber, sold all my stuff. Tried to go back to school multiple times. There's some, I don't want to say that I can't finish school, but it certainly feels like I can't. I don't know what it is. And every time I talk to people, they just think that everything I say is just an excuse. You are a grown man, you are an adult. You can do it. It's like no one can see it from my perspective. It's like I am always wrong. When I study, what do? I fall asleep. What do they say? Hey, you're lazy, you're procrastinating, you're choosing not to do this. And I'm like, that's gotta be something wrong with me. When it comes to school, studying, and staying on task and staying focused, I just can't do it. And I try, and I go back to school, and I pay all this money, and I pay all this money, and I pay all this money, and I fail, and I fail, and I fail, and I fail. Music has always been there for me, and I've always been great at it. People say that, hey, they try to test me. They say, hey, you know music, right? You know this person? No. You know this person? No. You know this person? No. Well, how are you a musician? I also get people saying to me, hey, what key is this in? I say, I don't know. Like, they say, well, how are you playing? How are you a musician? How do you play so well? I am not the type of person who is book smart or knowledgeable. I don't know things, but I know how to do things. I know how to do things physically in a creative way. I'm not a type of person who retains things and hold on to things, who can read a book and then take a test, pass it, and go on. That's not me. I am a creative-minded person. Anything that involves creativity, I can do, at least to some degree, where people are like, wow, you do it so well. You ever thought about going to school? No, I tried. It doesn't work.
I know a lot of guys like this. A lot of guys who aren't fundamentally book smart per se, but you know, they're creative, they're proactive, and they're active guys who are good with their hands, essentially. You know, like, not everyone is going to be book smart. Not everyone is going to be able to solve problems that are in abstract, or whatever the case may be. People have different skills and different specialties for different things. That's just the nature of humanity, right? That's what gives life essence, right? But it's a shame how oftentimes, and I think this happens a lot more to guys than for women, but I think for a lot of guys, they find themselves in these positions, in these relationships where, you know, things start off well in the beginning, whatever the case may be, but at some point in time, you know, someone makes a concession, you know, asks them to change something, alter something about them, which ultimately isn't who they are. And they can never fit that mold of what their woman wants them to be, simply because that's not who they are. You know, again, we're all individualistic, and I think, again, for a lot of guys, it's very unfair to be put in that position. I believe we've all been there at some point, and, you know, I'm wishing this guy all the best. You know, hopefully things are moving in a better direction. But guys, the lesson here ultimately to learn is that first things first, you have to show all of yourself to the woman that you're interested in. If you want to be in a relationship with this person, You need to be as open as possible, much like he was. And the reason being is because you want some sort of result, much like this guy. Because if they're not going to be honest with you and tell you if they're not into what you're doing, then obviously you're going to be flying blind. But in my personal opinion, I think any woman who tells you she's not into, a hobby or something that's even making money, as innocent as Yu-Gi-Oh cards, then I think that's a red flag that you shouldn't avoid. And that's ultimately the problem. A lot of us, how many times us as guys just ignore red flags, even though we know there's an obvious problem, but we ignore it simply because we want to make this work. We have this like fix it mindset that we really have to, sit down with ourselves and, understand what is the point of having this fix it mindset, especially for relationships that go south. That's just my opinion. That's what I think. You let me know what you think in the comments below, guys. Remember, once again, don't let her change you. Unless you have like a personality that is absolutely detestable, there's no reason for you to change, man. Be into what you're into, whether that be video games, whether that be Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Pokemon cards, poker cards, whatever the case may be. So long as it's not hurting you or other people around you, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with being interested in things beyond work and trying to make money. We're not here for the simple fact of making money and being a utility for other people. We have a life to experience as well. If you like this video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Share it with the homie if you find it valuable. Let me know your opinion in the comments below. Don't forget to check out some of the links in the description as well. New videos coming out Wednesday and Friday, so stay tuned for that. And let me know what you think about this video. I know this is a little bit different from what I normally make, but definitely open to hearing your comments as well. And until the next video, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.